Originally released on home computers, NIGEL MANSELL's World Championship Racing arrived on the Super Nintendo in 1993, promising to recreate the excitement of the 1992 Formula 1 season. Riding on its success on Amiga and PC, this port by Gremlin Graphics aimed to preserve the solid foundations of the original while adapting its gameplay for a console audience. Backed by the official license of British champion Nigel Mansell, who won the title in 1992, the game features a championship mode where players can only take on the role of the mustachioed driver, pitted against 11 rivals like Schumacher, Häkkinen, or Alesi. But does Mansell's promise to blend arcade accessibility with simulation depth hold up? Being someone with a soft spot for Nigel Mansell's legendary mustache, I was eager to step into his shoes and finally feel what a real man carries in his briefs. Gremlin Interactive was no stranger to racing games, and it shows from the get-go. The graphics of Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing demonstrate genuine expertise. Like Lancor's Vroom, the game represents that generation caught between 2D and 3D. The difference here, everything is in 2D. The slopes, camera angles, and the road's smooth scrolling make it one of the most convincing racers on the 16-bit platform. Steep hills, broad sweeping turns, all enhance the sense of speed while remaining perfectly readable. And the cherry on top, the game displays in full screen. A luxury at the time, and provides real visual comfort, far more than Monaco GP, which also offered a low first-person view but with inferior visibility. Granted, the scenery and roadside elements, trees, streetlights, billboards, can be a bit rough, but the variety deserves credit. Each of the 16 circuits has its own visual identity matching its locale, even if a few visual inconsistencies creep in. I also appreciated the layout of the HUD, especially the track map, which is remarkably clear. The depiction of your Renault 510 is solid and a nice touch. You can actually see your opponents appear in the rearview mirrors. On the audio side, the game stays true to its console roots by offering only sound effects by default. There's a music track available in the options, but it's the same regardless of the race. A missed opportunity, more musical variety would have enhanced the ambiance and the arcade feel. That said, the engine sounds are convincing and relatively realistic for Super Nintendo hardware. But the real highlight is the gameplay. As many reviewers pointed out at the time, Nigel Mansell's game benefits from something rare: intuitive and responsive controls. There are two gameplay styles, arcade and simulation. Arcade mode, as expected, offers a forgiving, lightly assisted driving experience, easy and not very frustrating. Great for beginners, though lacking in depth. You rarely need to brake, and races start to feel repetitive. Simulation mode, on the other hand, is more refined and demanding. Mistakes are punished harshly with off-track excursions. Don't worry, it's still far from a true simulation and remains accessible, but it provides more nuanced handling, greater freedom in choosing your lines, including the option to cut corners across the grass, and a surprisingly three-dimensional feel to the driving. In this mode, the arcade/sim blend reaches near-perfect balance, dynamic and responsive gameplay with deliberately weighty steering that forces you to anticipate your approach into turns. Braking is less emphasized than deceleration. On some tighter circuits, precision becomes essential if you hope to take the championship title. Let's briefly look at the game modes. You can run single races on any unlocked circuit or enter the championship mode with a fixed GP order, ideal for longer play sessions, thankfully supported by a password system to resume progress. Car setup adjustments before each race are included as expected, but honestly, you can win without touching them, and that's the game's biggest limit. Even in simulation mode, it remains an arcade racer at heart, with little depth and thus limited replay value. Let's not beat around the bush. The game is quite easy. Even major driving errors are usually forgiven, and catching up to the leader after multiple blunders is not impossible. Still, Nigel Mansell's game remains a compelling title. As far as I know, it's one of the rare F-1 games on SNES that even F-1 skeptics can enjoy. Its polished visuals and responsive handling give it a sense of realism, but it remains fun and approachable enough to appeal beyond its core audience. One word of caution: the Mega Drive version features different visuals and ends up being much less convincing.